Good afternoon. This is Media Center, Ukraine, Odesa. We have only one briefing today, but it is very important. Today, we will speak about the evacuation from Kherson and the Kherson Oblast. Today with us we have Oleh Mykhailik, the head of the board of the Plych or Side by Side Charitable Foundation, and Liana Kuyun, who yesterday came from Kherson to Odessa. First, I would like to give floor to Mr. Mykhailik and then to Liana to speak about her experience. Good afternoon. My name is Oleh Mykhailik. I'm the head of the board of the Plych Charitable Foundation, that was founded in 2018 to support cultural and educational programs. But on the first days of war, we switched to humanitarian aid to IDPs, and since April, we've been evacuating the civilians, including from the temporarily occupied territories of Mariupol and Kherson Oblast. A lot has been done. First, that were just Ukrainian drivers that were not afraid to take people from the well-known Chernobyevka, from Kherson Oblast, from Kakhovka, etc. But unfortunately, there were casualties among our drivers, but luckily everyone has survived, and one of them was even sent for treatment abroad. Then the German partners from NGO Helbus Evacuation Transportation and TNR joined us, providing buses and thus supporting the evacuation in Ukraine. We have experienced a lot during this time. The occupiers blocked, so to say, 4 buses, and we're trying to find them now, but we are ready that we can lose some of them. Over the time, we have evacuated more than 4,000 people. Those people moved from the occupied territories, from the territories of hostilities, and yesterday we launched evacuation routes for the people from Kherson that will be admitted here in Odessa. We are going to provide accommodation for them in Odessa and in some other cities of Ukraine. Liana, can you tell us a bit about yesterday's evacuation? Can you share your experience under the occupation in Kherson? Then tell us, please, where are you from and the general experience. And I am from the Kherson Oblast, which is still occupied. So the bus was very comfortable yesterday, so there were no problems in moving to Odessa. So I provided the information on the 20th of November, and in several days I was able to leave. Life is difficult now in Kherson. You have to stand in queues and lines to get water, to get humanitarian aid. For example, I have the experience of waiting for several hours, starting from 9 o'clock, just to get the 2 tanks, small tanks of water. So there was no work there, so we couldn't earn money for living, and the prices just soared up under the occupation. So you've just mentioned that you're a Kalanchak. So first you evacuated from Kalanchak to Kherson, and then from Kherson to Odessa. Are there any questions from the floor? We have so much information to share, so that's better if you can ask the questions you're interested in, because we have a lot of facts and a lot of emotions, and we're ready to share all this with you. Just name yourself. Olena Milona, прямий channel. Mr. Mykhailik has just mentioned the lines to get water. And as far as I understand, when you travel to Kherson, you try to bring water there. What is the situation with the water supply there in Kherson? And these lines are just colossal. And we saw such line with our own eyes, and that was a giant truck with water from Poltava. But people could get only 2 bottles for one person. And we saw that that was a very quick process, but still the line was really very huge, that it occupied around a block. There were 300 or 500 people. I have pictures I can show you to them. And this is just astonishing. Today I just shared these photos with my with the German journalists I know, and they were just shocked with the number of people. When we traveled to Kherson yesterday, we took the water we had in our office to provide this water to the people we know there. And I think that the next time we will be more ready for providing water there. And we are going to bring there much more water than this time. The situation is just a catastrophe there, as far as I understand. The occupiers destroyed everything when they were leaving Kherson. We have now a memorandum with the Kherson Oblast military administration, and they say that they've just they took everything, X-rays and different types of medical equipment, bar equipment, so everything they could take from bars, restaurants, hospitals, the pipelines, they took or destroyed everything. And I think that it will take some time to solve at least the issue with the water supply. But people from Kherson know more about this. Liana, can you tell us how much time you spent in Kherson and what is the situation there with the water supply now and the supply of other resources that people need? I spent a week and a half in Kherson. Yes, there is the water supply in the form of transporting by trucks, but there is no centralized water supply. There is no gas at houses, and people just have kind of bonfires or they use grills to cook food on balconies. And people also collect rainwater, at least to use it like a technical water to wash something, to use this in the toilet, because actually we can get like 2 5-liter bottles for one person. We have 2 adults and 3 children, and we can get only 5 bottles of waters, and this is not enough just to drink and to cook meals. And I saw that people just collected water from the Dnipro river. Yes, this is true, but it was difficult for us because we live far from the Dnipro river, but people really take it from there. The next question. Olga Donska, 5th channel, the question to Mr. Mykhailik. And you say that you've been evacuating people from there starting from April. So how the process was organized? Just was it under shelling? And the story is quite long, actually. As I've mentioned, we first used our private cars to take people from there. Then we bought the first bus, then our partners supported us with small buses, and we just took people from there whenever it was possible, at least from Kherson to Mykolaiv. It's around 60, 70 kilometers. But sometimes the route took 300 kilometers from one point to another, because we were trying to find the routes to just the roundabout route not to be shelled. So sometimes we transported people to Kryvyi Rih, to Voznesensk, and as I've already mentioned, to Mykolaiv. After all checkpoints were closed. People stayed for 2-3 weeks just in the field because we just were waiting for the permission to get out of there. Then the situation improved a bit when there was a kind of a safe corridor established through Vasilievka that accumulated buses from occupied territories. And we were also involved in the evacuation of people from Mariupol. The last bus that we got from occupied Mariupol was a week ago. So we managed to evacuate people from there through our partner, who is a priest. Then there were routes from Vasilievka to Zaporizhzhia. There were some agreements there, but then after the bus stations were shelled near Zaporizhzhia, there is no route anymore there. So now there are almost no routes to be transported from Zaporizhzhia. People use their private transportation to get from there. There is one family who got to our office, and they told us that they had to spend 17 days in the field and then in Vasilievka waiting for a so-called E-line to get out of there. So I've got a lot of information. I just don't want to take much of your time to share these details. But the occupiers always used people like a shield, and they do everything possible for make it even more difficult for people to evacuate from there. And the last case, when they took our buses, saying that we have some wrong documents, but they openly said that they would give buses only to the head of your foundation when he comes to Vasilievka. Was there any filtration on the side of the occupiers? First, everyone who was dauntless enough could get from there because there were no guarantees. One of our convoy was heavily shelled, and then some people didn't want to risk anymore to get there. Then, when the situation was more or less stable, people just organized some business there. I just don't want to tell you the prices, but we faced the fact that the free evacuation organized by our foundation, Plych, using the funds of our donors, faced the fact that they were someone who sold the seeds in our baths for several thousand hryvnias. That's why we decided to open our own Telegram channel, and just it took only 1 week for 1,000 people to subscribe to the channel, the people who wanted to leave those territories. In 2 months, there were already 2,000 of people who wanted to be evacuated. But a lot of people could not leave or did not have the internet connection. Maria Tarasova, Inter channel. Just a clarification. You've mentioned that 4 buses were taken from you. Were there some passengers? What is their destiny? 2 buses were blocked on the way there, on the entry to the occupied territory. Drivers were interrogated by FSB, and they were there. They had to stay there for several days, and then they were left. The buses were taken to the platform and for dismantling. Now we are trying to find these buses. 2 other buses managed to get to the occupied territory, but on the way back, when we understood that the occupiers wanted to take them from us, we managed to hide 1 bus, but the other was detained, and people were just thrown away from these buses by the occupiers who said that they should come back, or the driver would have been put to prison. What are your plans in terms of the evacuation from Kherson after the first voyage? We have significant plans, and now there is the issue of the financial support. As soon as we find enough funds, we are ready to have everyday voyages there. Why do we need finances? Because we need fuel. We do not take money for the evacuation, and we are not going to do this. People are accommodated in Odesa, in our accommodation center in Uspenskaya 17th Street that were opened a week ago, but it is there are still several rooms there, but not so many. And we also cooperate with the other partners in Odesa, so everyone will be accommodated. There are around 30 rooms there in the hotel. And I would like to emphasize that our priorities are women, children, and people with disabilities. So please understand us. Michael Samsianen, you know that now in Canada a lot of is collected for Ukraine. What can you tell us what is needed for people in Kherson there? Warm clothes, generators. Can you share with us this? Should I speak Ukrainian or English? You can answer the question in Ukrainian. I don't live in Kherson, and I don't know all the details. And I know that there is no water and power supply. And this is not the question of the generators, because people start buying generators, but they don't have fuel for this. And some well-known humanitarian organizations send generators there, and this is good for their statistics. But they do not monitor the situations. They don't care if the generators are operative there. As far as I know, only one fuel station is operative in Kherson. And the situation is that people don't have money to buy fuel, and secondly, there is no place they can buy the fuel. This is when it comes to generators. I don't know how generators can help Kherson now. And now I would like to share my personal vision, but I would like to ask the partners abroad to look for reliable partners here. I don't believe the numbers they get, because I see a lot of great statistics, but the situation is quite different. Millions of dollars can be spent here, but it is a know how they are spent. This is my private opinion. But I think that, of course, in Kherson, people need warm clothes, the diapers, the meals for children, and of course, the issue of medication will be quite important. There are different donors and NGOs there, but people will start coming back to Kherson, and the population will significantly increase in Kherson. Last week, we had the press conference of volunteers helping Kherson, and one of the volunteers told us that there is some medication in Kherson hospitals for urgent treatment. But he says that he supplied medication to drugstores because there is no medication there. And so you have beautiful children. They are very brave. And I want to ask you, what was the most terrible moment for you and for your children? As for the most frightening thing is when we had strikes missile strikes in the city, because you know what missiles would hit. Yes, we spend time in bomb shelters, we spend night there, but the most horrifying thing is when you hear a missile, but you don't know what it's going to hit. The next question, please. You will need the interpretation.
Так, перший канал. Yeah, just a minute. Yeah, go on, Luis, please.
Please, my name is Luis. I'm from Brazilian TV outlet, Rede TV, and Pan American TV. I would like to ask you what scenario.
Just a second, just a second. We've got something we need to correct.
Получается, и на английском не очень понятно, и на русском
Я,
не до конца.
да, ми чуємо, ми також це чуємо. Полагодили? Так, прошу, надягайте навушника. Luis, one more time, please.
Okay, I'm a journalist from Brazil. I would like you to.
Все ще немає перекладу. Just a second. Давайте спробуємо ще раз. Там має бути поставлений перший канал.
А тут немає ніякого каналу.
Давайте я подивлюся. Just a minute, please.
Okay.
Let's make a third try, please.
Okay. Please, could you
Добре.
Looks like you have very important question, but only for me, not for the lady.
Okay, then
Let's
go
try.
on, go on, and I'll translate that.
Proceed
So-
and then we make a translation to that.
Good.
what scenario do you expect in Kherson for next year? Do you think it's to be a city on battlefront because Russians are at the other side of Dnipro River, or you have like normal life next year? What do you expect?
Is that a question to Oleg or to Liana?
If both could,
Ага.
could
Какой может быть сценарий для Херсона в последующем, тогда, ну, с тех пор, как он стал украинским?
The question is, it was the future for Kherson. The question to Oleg, who evacuates people from there, and to Liana, who just has been just evacuated from there. Will Kherson be a frontline city, or they just with a normal life? I think that this will be a peaceful city, and that the other bank of the Dnipro River will be rebuilt soon, and everyone will return back to their homes. We also hope that this will be a prosperous Ukrainian city, but we understand that Russian occupying forces are on the other bank of the Dnipro River, and we expect that they will do the same to Kherson that they have been doing to Mykolaiv before. And they are very close, and even now the shelling is very intensive, and the shelling has been increasing every day, and because they are very close. We know that Ukrainian forces shell in return, and they hit the targets, and we hope that this will at least partially guarantee the decreased number of shelling from the Russian troops. But we hope that the Kherson Oblast and other Ukrainian occupied territories will be liberated soon. Some people leave those territories, and I support them, and we do everything possible to evacuate them from there, because we need to understand that the winter is close, and winter in Ukraine is not as in Brazil, unfortunately or luckily. But anyway, the winter will be cold, the winter will be severe, and people should think about their children to survive the winter. If it's spring or summer, when there's no issue of heating, water supply, then not so many people would leave those territories. But due to the winter, people will still continue leaving the territories. Because this is not only the question of shelling, but people need some basic things for living, like electricity, gas, and water supply. Thank you. Do we have any other questions? I have a question to you, Liana. You mentioned that you've spent a week and a half in Kherson. Can you tell us about the shelling there? How often people should hide from artillery, from missiles, for people who are not there to understand better the situation? I can say that people are not afraid anymore. They don't hide anymore when it's shelling or there is a missile attack, and you don't understand where you can hear the sound of shelling from. It could be Antonovka or some other areas of Kherson, because we stopped hiding. Of course, we used the method of two walls, but you need to understand that bomb shelters, that basements are too cold to hide there. Yes, of course, if we hear explosions, then we try to stay away from windows. But people are not afraid anymore of these attacks and strikes. And what is the situation with the mobile connection and internet connection? We have mobile connection, we have mobile internet there, but the lines are huge for people to charge their power banks, telephones, and other devices. We have internet, we have mobile connection. This has been restored. Do we have any other questions? No. Okay, if there is no question, we will now finalize our briefing. I would like to thank Oleg and you, Liana, to be here by yourself and to bring your children here. That was the briefing in Ukraine Media Center, Odessa. We will come back to you tomorrow. Thank you.